Bruce Elder, you're running for another term on Staunton City Council. You've had 4 years of this. What makes you want to come back for another potential 4-year term on City Council?
Well, I'm very fond of my city, and I feel like we've got a lot done. There have been a good number of challenges, as there have been to every small city, but because of a good council and because of a good mix of people on council, we've been able to be focused and make some differences, make some changes.
What could the next few years look like for Staunton in terms of ongoing work, especially from the city government level? What do you think some of the priorities will be for City Council in the next few years?
Well, I think that we have several interesting priorities. One of which is, of course, to deal with our infrastructure. Uh, Stanton has been committed to improvements in infrastructure over all the time, well, the last 20 years, really. It's been difficult. There are always people who say, well, can we put it off a year or two? But the fact is that everything we look at now that has been completed has improved our prospects for economic development, has improved the viability of the city, and has increased the quality of life. It's also not been putting off a tax burden to the next generation, and that's a very responsible thing to do.
Each member of a city council or governing body at any level has maybe some individual priorities, individual focal points that interest them. And what would you say your focal points are individually as a member of city council now, and what they might be in the next 4 years?
I think the thing that we're going to be very, very focused on, Chris, is going to be the development at Western State Hospital property. That certainly will be a priority for us. There's a lot of job potential there. There's a lot of economic development potential. And that's going to make a significant difference in what the real estate tax basis will be in this town.
Pressures this year are at the forefront for city council currently. Pressures from on a budget level, both locally and pushed down from Richmond. How does that factor into what this, especially this spring? What could be an interesting spring for city council?
There are a lot of things in that question. Certainly, we all know that sales tax revenues and tax collections have been way down. That economic activity nationwide has been down. It is improving, and I think that even in my own business I'm seeing an improvement for 2010. But there's a lag time. There's about a 2-year lag time when it comes to state and local governments. The biggest challenge for us is to maintain the focus on what our true goals are, and not to be reactive to current economic times. We have to be proactive in that. We have to use our money very wisely. One of the blessings of Staunton is we have such a dedicated city staff. We have tremendous people in the finance department. We have very dedicated people in public works and parks and recreation. It has been to their credit that we have been able to maintain the services that we have in these difficult times. Our police and fire personnel are the best, and their leadership has been terrific. Now, all that being said, the real difficulty is in dealing with mandates from the state that have been and remain unfunded. That without any reliable funding sources from the state, we're going to have to look internally for ways that we can enhance that. That's a challenge.
One political question to ask: you're running for re-election. 2 of your fellow city council members are running for re-election. Just one person who's not an incumbent running in this election. We've seen interest in past years that was pretty significant from challengers with different ideas maybe to bring, and even as recently as when Dickie Bell's seat came open, there seemed to be a lot of interest in that particular open seat. Could it be, I asked this question of Lacey King a little earlier, that with a relative lack of challenge this time around for the spring elections, that maybe that's a sign that that folks in the city are have bought in, I guess, to the general thrust of where things have been going in Stanton for the past 5, 10, 20 years. Could that be a reason maybe that we're seeing the election season that we are seeing this year?
I think that it's a combination of a lot of elements here. One is that I think that you have had very dedicated staff and very dedicated political officials. Mayor King has done an excellent job, in my opinion. Carolyn Dull has been extremely responsive to people and has served with some distinction. I have worked as hard as I can, and I think a lot of folks recognize that and recognize that we're doing the best job we can do under the circumstances. There doesn't seem to be people who are upset with the way that the direction the city is going. Obviously, there are lots of different opinions out there. This is true in the general public and even on our council. There are people who will not always agree, but we have a very civil discussion here in Staunton. We have talked things out, we've come up with good compromise, and we've been able to maintain our focus on where we want to be.
Bruce Elder, Stanton City Councilman, thanks for your time.
Thank you.